Hi, today we're going to paint the Sandpiper, and I just finished painting this little seagull. I love the seagulls, but we're going to try painting the Sandpiper. I have traced it onto my watercolor paper, but I like keeping the black and white picture in front of me to look at because you can see the value of the bird we're painting where it's darkest without being distracted by colors. So the little Sandpiper, we're going to start with a very light brown, and that's just a mixture of yellow ochre with some raw sienna. And what I like to do is I always have a piece of watercolor paper that I could check colors. And this is a little dark, so that means I need to add water, because watercolor, in order to make a color lighter, we add water. So we are going to just put a little of this light color. I also have paper towels next to me, so I could always dry off my brush if it seems a little too wet. And we're just gonna put a little bit of this light brown on its darkest wing area. I love the little Sandpipers. They make the cutest little noises. Just gonna go like this, and we've got to let that dry. So what we're going to do, because we've got to let this area dry, we're going to work on another area. Let's put a little bit of brown there. Okay, so he also has a little bit of brown here. Now I want to blend this because I don't like that harsh line. So I am washing off my brush, and I don't want it too wet, but I just kind of want to blend the colors a little. And the way we do that while that's still wet, I'm blending it with just clear water. And you see how we've then just got a really light brown here on the little bird. We're going to keep this area white, so I'm not going to paint it. And I'm going to go dry this now. I'm going to work a little bit on this area here, and that's a very light gray. I'm using my soft brush, got it in water, and I'm using a tiny bit of Payne's Gray with mostly water. Let's check it here. I'm going to add a little more water, and I'm just going to add a little bit of gray down here, because this part is white. So he's got a little bit of gray. I don't want too much water. There we go. And I'm going to put a little bit of that dark gray up on the bottom of this tail area. And this is Payne's Gray that I'm using. I don't use black. I use either Payne's Gray or an indigo color when I want black areas. And I'm going to add a little bit more of the gray in here. Now that's too dark. So what do? Clean off my brush. Keep some water there, and then come and lighten it with a wet brush, but it's not too wet. So that's how you can blend the watercolors. Okay, and then we're going to work on the wings. They're nice and dry. So with the same brush, I cleaned it off. I'm going to use some of that darker brown color that I have, and I don't want it too wet. I want to start adding some darker brown in here. I'm going to get another brush. So I've got two brushes in my hand, so I can kind of blend it if I need to. Because I don't want it too dark right there. Okay. We'll come around here and we'll add some feathers, and I'm going to blend them. Now, if you notice, I had too much water on the brush, so it got pretty wet. I'm just gonna blend that all, and I'll come back to it later. And that's how you fix mistakes. I'm gonna go dry it in a minute. I'm gonna let that dry, and I can come and do some of the feathers here. This is a small painting, so I need to be very careful with how much water I'm using. going to use some darker brown right here over this dark part of the wing of the tail. A little bit of the dark brown in here. I'm going to put a little bit darker brown through here. Now with watercolor, it does tend to dry lighter, just so you know. I want some color here. Colors in here. See how I just flattened the brush? I don't need a flat brush. This is my favorite brush. It's a round brush, but I use it as a flat brush. It's just nice and soft. I don't even know what kind it is. I've had it so long, I don't remember what type of brush it is. This is my favorite. Okay, we've got to add some feathers up here on its head. See how I'm using the brush? I'm using the strokes. I'm just using the edge of the brush and putting strokes in here where its little feathers stick up a little. Here it's rounder. We've got a little bit near the eye. Now it's the corner of the brush. So you can do a lot with one brush. You don't need to buy 50 million brushes. These two brushes are my favorites. I don't know why. And I have a lot of brushes. Here's just some of them. But they just like to sit there and watch. Because these are my favorites. Okay, so that looks pretty good. We can add a little more brown in here. And let's just fix his little head here. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Let's just blend this a little. And we're gonna work on his little legs, which are, I'm gonna use Payne's Gray. Like I said, I don't use black. I think it's very dull. So I'm using some Payne's Gray. Let's see if I have it dark enough. Nope. Maybe it's a little darker. Check it here. And we're gonna do his little legs. This was prettier than black. I think anyway. Okay, and we've got a little bit lighter here. I just cleaned off the brush and took some of the paint off. Right there. A little bit dark here. And let's see, let's go down here. And I'm gonna blend it. So with watercolor, you can just put some paint down and then blend. I like to blend the colors a lot. I don't like lines where they shouldn't be, so I'm blending these colors again to blend it into that white part so it's not so harsh. And his little leg looks there. Okay, he's got knobby knees. They're cute. All right, then we have to do the beak, and the beak is, it's dark brown, so I'm gonna mix some Payne's Gray with brown and get a really dark brown. We're just gonna put this in here. When you get directions, like from my Etsy store on how to paint things, and it says you need a certain color, you don't always have to use the color it says if you don't have that color. You should pretty much use any colors that you have that are close to it. For instance, it says raw sienna. I don't have raw sienna, so I'm not using it. I'm using a brown that I have, and that's fine. He's got, let's see, we're gonna cut a little more brown right there. And the tip of his beak is kind of wet, so I'm taking a dry brush and I'm going to set it there just to pull some of that. And I need to have it very pointed because they do have a pointy beak at the end. So I've got a really small brush and I just need to make it very pointed at the end. like that. And we're going to do the eye, which is very dark. So I'm using the small brush, Payne's Gray, and I'm going to make it really dark. I'm leaving a little bit of white right in the middle for a highlight. And I'm going to come in and do some detail work right here. It's a little darker down here. Okay. There's our little sandpiper. We gotta do some water. Let's just use some of the grays around here for the water. Shadow. And we'll use a little of the browns. So it's kind of like he's on the sand, but there's also some water there. Just kind of gives us the illusion of water. Okay. I'm going to let this dry, and then I'll come back and work on that a little more. Okay, so that's dry. I want to make this a little rounder and cleaner. I'm going to use that Payne's Gray again with a tiny bit of blue. And I'm just going to come around like this, where the water goes round. Come around. And then there's some shadow areas near the feet. For the illusion, and we can put a little bit here and here to show there's water. And that's our sandpiper. By the way, when I go to dry this, I dry it very quickly. I use this craft tool. It's heated, and it just dries things really fast without blowing all the watercolor away like a hairdryer does. So there's my sandpiper. I hope you paint along with me. Check on Etsy. Printables by Loretta. You can get the tracer, you get the photo and directions on how to paint my seabirds, and I also have shells that I have on Etsy now. So hopefully you'll take a look there. There's a link on my site. Thank you. Please leave a like and subscribe to my channel, and keep watching for more videos as I put them out every week.